Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a quick throwback look at the Transformers 2007 live action movie Deluxe Class Arcee. Now the reasoning behind why I've decided to take a look at this character in today's review is simply down to the fact that I absolutely love the way this figure and design has turned out, and to be completely honest, out of all of her live action movie appearances, maybe excluding Bumblebee, I actually think this is the better design. It absolutely obliterates what we saw in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen in my opinion, and for those of you wondering as to why there was indeed a figure of Arcee in the 2007 toy line when she didn't show up until 2009, it's simply down to the fact that this character was indeed supposed to appear in the original live action movie. Michael Bay and the writers decided to cut her out, just as they didn't think there was enough time in the film to explain as to why there were female Autobots, but they never really explain it in the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen movie, so to be honest they should have just stuck her in, but had they included her then we maybe wouldn't have seen the character of Ironhide, and of course he's a massive fan favourite. He's definitely one of my favourite Autobots to come out of the Michael Bay lineup, so in some ways it is bittersweet. I would have loved to have seen this design actually shown on the screen, but then in other ways we maybe would have never have seen Ironhide. But nevertheless, we'll take a look here at the figure as she comes packaged, or as she came originally packaged in her bike form, and I actually think this is really nicely done. Of course, considering this is a 2007 figure, the plastic is exceptional, as so is the paint. This is a really nicely sculpted release. You can see here at the front the headlights have been fully sculpted there in this transparent blue. We've got some really nice details going on for the wheels, completely painted there with the silver, as well as this almost golden detailing. And as we spin our attention to the side, barely any hollow spaces in this at all. It actually feels really well made. As we take a look here towards the top, you can see we've got Arcee there, the license plate, as well as the rear lights too have also been fully painted. And you can see here for this rear wheel, completely sculpted, and overall just looks fantastic. Even as we spin our attention here to the top, you can see how we do in fact actually get the seating area, which too has actually been given a really nice sculpt. So this does indeed actually really resemble, in my opinion, what leather would look like. So that's really well done. You can see here for the top, we've got some nice details of where I imagine you would in fact actually insert the fuel into a motorbike. I'm not a massive expert on motorbikes, but that's definitely what this looks like. You can see there the brake bars, as well as the handlebars, and as we flip here to this side, once again more details such as Arcee, as well as some very nice looking paint. Now of course, as per tradition with these motorcycles, she does indeed have a kickstand, so you can deploy or retract this, and she does in fact actually roll along the ground with absolute ease, and of course you can deploy it for display purposes. So in terms of a bike form, I actually think she looks exceptional. My only downside or critique, I guess I could say, would be the fact that you are unable to rotate this front wheel. That truly would have been the icing on the cake, but other than that, I think it's a really nice looking vehicle form. Now in regards to accessories, she does in fact actually include a missile. Now this plays more of a role when we transform her in robot mode, but you can indeed actually store it here in the missile compartment, that being this almost crossbow weapon that she's got going on here for the rear of the vehicle. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of how this looks, but if you didn't want to in fact actually have it tabbed in there, we can just take one of these slots here on the side and peg it here into this tab, and I guess that is how you would display or in fact actually store the missile in the bike form. But with all that being said, excellent alt mode. Of course, let's get it transformed up into the robot mode, a mode of which I actually think many of you guys are going to be incredibly surprised at, especially considering the design that we saw in 2009. So if my memory serves me correctly, I believe there is some slight parts forming going on. You do essentially have to remove this entire rear section of the vehicle, which becomes her weapon, so we'll just set that there off to the side. We can then come here to this wheel and split this section just like so. We can then come here to this region and basically just sort of extend these knee joints out, bring this section forward and just snap that there into place. We can then split the legs, bring this section here down, repeat the same process, and then we can pull open this front torso compartment, which will allow us to push out her really nicely detailed robot mode head, and then of course just snap that there into place. We can extend the knee joints out, and then this wheel will in fact actually fold within this hollow cavity, so very reminiscent of how the Transformers Prime RC design does in fact actually store away some of the cycle wheels. So just snap that in there. This kibble sadly just sort of hangs out to the back, but we'll touch base more with this in just a second. In regards to the foot transformation, really nicely done. She does in fact actually have high heel boots, which I think is a really nice design for the character. So just fold the front toe out as well as the heel spurs, just like so. And then as we just raise the camera up, for this particular section, you are going to want to rotate the shoulders around. And of course, repeat the same process. Rotate here at the elbows so that the hands do in fact actually face inwards. And then now in regard to these wheels, you can indeed leave them out like this, or if you are going by concept art accuracy, they are in fact actually supposed to fold in and I guess kind of create the chest of Arcee, which is a little questionable, but personally I actually think it's a really, really awesome design for the character, and that is the Transformers 2007 live action movie Arcee fully transformed up in her robot mode. And honestly guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think this is so much nicer when in comparison to the almost cycle-legged Transformer monster that we got in 2009. I absolutely love the way this looks. Now, of course, she's got a lot of junk in the trunk. Personally, I actually think this was completely intentional. I really think that they did do this on purpose. You can see how, of course, this would be where her trunk would be, and then as we spin our attention here to the front, we've got the wheels split to form the chest of Arcee, which I actually think is a pretty decent use of some of those bike components. You can see there in regards to the head sculpt, a lot more G1 orientated. Now, granted, it looks slightly more scary than how she appeared in G1, but it's a lot better than 2009 for sure. You can see the sculpt work on that looks fantastic. She definitely would have blended in really, really nicely with some of those other live action movie Autobots. You can see the sculpt as well as paintwork actually looks really impressive, and there definitely is an almost feminine vibe to this. I do think they've done a pretty decent job. As we actually move some of this away, you are able to appreciate some of the sharper details as well as the paintwork that we've got going on here for the torso. So these really nice almost copper or bronze tubes going on here. I think the silver as well as the metallic blue looks awesome, and just appreciate the detailing that we've got going on here for the thighs. I think overall it's a very, very nicely designed character. I'm not a huge fan of the placement of the hands. Had they been on a ball joint, I think overall she would have pretty much been flawless. It does make it look slightly clumsy depending on how you in fact actually wish to display the elbow joints. If you have them straightened out, then the palm is just facing like this. However, if you had them curled in, it does indeed restrict that range of motion going forward, but of course has this in a slightly more natural position. And then as we just take a look here towards the thighs, the shins, as well as the boots, overall I think this is very, very nicely designed. And besides this junk, honestly, she actually cleans up pretty nicely. So in terms of a design, I am so impressed with how this particular figure turned out, and I really do just wish this was how she appeared in the film. Now, in regards to articulation, fantastic range here at the head. We do get a hinge joint due to transformation, which can look up and down, as well as a fantastic ball joint, allowing her to rotate the full 360, as well as look pretty much any way you wish. Of course, if you do want to utilize the ball joints here at the shoulders, that chest armor will move with it. It's not the end of the world, so you can have this rotating forwards, backwards, out to the sides, rotation here at the elbow, as well as merely just a hinge joint at the hand, which isn't the best. Sadly, no form of waist rotation, and I definitely think they could have found the way to have added a waist joint, but this is a 2009 era figure, so I'm definitely not going to penalize it. We can hinge the legs forwards that far, as well as back to that far, out to the sides very slightly, sadly. We do get a 90-degree bend here at the knee, and finally, due to transformation, as you guys may have seen earlier, the toe can pivot forwards and backwards, but there is no form of ankle rocker pivot at all. So in all, that pretty much wraps up Arcee here in her robot mode. Very quickly going over the crossbow weapon, which once again is concept art accurate. As showcased previously, you simply do just push the missile in, and it was this almost mecha live, or I believe it was called Automorph for 2007. You can see how that crossbow will begin to form, and it's actually really well done. And even after well over a decade, the spring does in fact actually still fire to a pretty decent range. Now, in order to apply it here for bot mode, you can see how we do have a tab here that simply will just snap into that slot, and just bringing that missile in so you guys can see how she looks in bot form with that crossbow. Overall, a very, very nicely done figure in my opinion. And here for an almost what if size comparison, we've got the 2007 Arcee compared next to the core team of Autobots from the first Transformers movie, obviously from the studio series. So in regards to scale, she's definitely not going to look great with these guys, but just in terms of an actual design, I think that she more than blends in. Honestly, she definitely does follow the same aesthetics as some of those original core Bayverse Autobots, and once again, it would have been so cool to have in fact actually seen this particular design and incarnation of the character in the first film, but at the sacrifice of Ironhide, I'm not too sure. Maybe if they could have perhaps scrapped Jazz just as he got killed off anyway, maybe that would have made the team slightly better. Once again, we'll never really know. Here's hoping that for Transformers Rise of the Beasts, the character is finally done some justice and we actually get a proper rendition of live action movie Arcee. And so, some final thoughts for this Transformers 2007 Deluxe Class Arcee. As you guys have probably already guessed from the review, in regards to a design, I think this is awesome. A really nice rendition of the character. Had this appeared in the movie, I definitely think many fans would have been a lot more satisfied when in comparison to the offering that we sadly saw in 2009. I definitely think this more humanoid look to Arcee definitely harkens back to her original G1 appearance and just makes her feel slightly more like a core member of the Autobots. With the Revenge of the Fallen version, of course, she wasn't really a character that I personally believe audiences would have connected to, just as she was rather serpent-like, and to be honest, had she been coated in a darker colour scheme, probably would have resembled more of a Decepticon. I think had they kept the Autobots mainly just two-legged, I really do think this is ultimately the design that would have appealed a lot more to the general audience. As far as the figure goes, looks awesome, incredibly faithful to the actual concept art, and once again, I would have loved to have seen this character actually implemented into the film, as nowadays, she probably would have seen a studio series counterpart, and I just can only imagine how cool that figure would have in fact actually turned out. So here's hoping that for the studio series going forward, Hasbro do decide to maybe dip their toes into some concept characters, as this is definitely a character design that I would really love to see updated. But this figure looks awesome in robot mode and of course bike form. Considering she's a 2007 release, she's made incredibly well. I think the transformation also is very nicely done to me. Definitely reminds me of that Transformers Prime first edition Arcee, especially in regards to the way the wheels transform, and the spring-loaded gimmick honestly is always welcome here on the channel. I absolutely love spring-loaded mechanisms and really would love to see them more introduced into mainline figures. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this throwback look. Do you guys in fact actually like this design better than how she appeared in Revenge of the Fallen, or do you guys completely disagree with me? Do you think this is an atrocious design, and are you guys in fact actually glad that they scrapped this in order to make way for her Revenge of the Fallen appearance? As always, I thank you guys all so much for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.